So in the industry, if you have an ingredient that has less than 1% concentration in the final product, you technically don't have to list it on the label. You can have 700 ingredients or deviations of those ingredients, and you can list it all under fragrance or parfum and never have to disclose the ingredients on the label. This is the reason why, like, you look at like products that have like colorants.
Yes.
The reason why like mainstream laundry detergent's blue or green, there's a chemical. There's the same chemical that's used in inks and dyes to trick your eyes into believing your clothes are brighter under UV light or UV ultraviolet light brighteners. But those brighteners, which are again chemical residues, and the
Yeah.
reason why your clothes glowed was
Yeah.
not because of the glow.
Mhm.
Your clothes don't glow. It's because of the UV brighteners that everybody's putting in their fabric softeners, in their detergents, in their soaps. That's actually what's photoluminescent, that's glowing under black light.
Okay.
So if you wash your clothes like we're truly free, go under black light, your clothes will not glow because
Wow.
we don't put those things on. The companies that are putting these, because they're in such small, minute amounts, don't have to disclose in the label that they're putting UV brighteners in your clothes.
If you're anything like me, your segue into alternative health and more holistic living was looking at food and understanding that a lot of the ingredients in our foods are not only unnecessary, but they're not health promoting. Now, if you stick around the alternative health world long enough, you start to look deeper at other things that we use daily, like laundry, dish detergents, and even household cleaners. Today's guest, Stephen, had a very sensitive baby that was actually covered in head to toe eczema. And that set him on a path many, many years ago to create cleaner products for our everyday use. Now, I've been using these products in my home and absolutely love them because they work. A lot of the clean products out there don't actually work very well, even though they check off the boxes of cleaner ingredients. So I'm excited today to bring you this interview with Stephen of Truly Free. And if you're listening to this when it comes out live, we do have a special bundle deal down in the show notes for you. If you want to try out any of these products, you get 100 free loads of laundry, 100 free loads of dish detergent. It's called the bestseller bundle and it's $36. So little risk to try out these really great products. If you want to try them out, head down to the show notes. If not, stay tuned and listen to today's episode. I think you'll enjoy it and relate to a lot of it. Welcome to the Evolving Wellness Podcast, where circadian biology and quantum biology meet nutrition, lifestyle, hormones, health, and everyday conversations. I'm your host, Sarah, board certified in applied quantum biology by the American Naturopathic Medical Board and certified in nutrition by the National Academy of Sports Medicine. This is just a quick little reminder that you'll never hear a guest on this podcast whose every stance I agree with. And that's the point. These are conversations and not consultations. The information shared here is for information and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of a qualified, trusted professional for all of your personal health needs. If you want more of my content, including my free long-form articles with citations, free ebooks, membership group with more access to me and my circadian app that helps you integrate light into your life seamlessly, make sure to visit www.sarahkleinerwellness.com. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am really excited to have today here with me the founder of Truly Free. And we definitely have some things in common that we're going to discuss today. But Stephen, thank you so much for being here.
Sarah, I am jazzed for this conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited too, just because, like I mentioned, I had a son or have a son. He's almost 3 now that got horrible eczema as an infant. And the more and more I've shared about this online, the more people have really just come out of the woodwork of like, this is a really big problem for a lot of babies. And find a detergent that didn't irritate his skin, especially his face, was a bit of a challenge for us, even though we were already using a lot of natural things already. So I would love to hear your story and how you got into all of this.
Well, the story started for me. I can't believe it. It's about 18 years ago. We have five kids, but my oldest, who's now going to be 18, broke out in this horrific rash. He was about 2.5, 3 weeks old, and now we have five kids. And when it's your first kid, as I'm like watching them breathe. Right now, if everyone's breathing and no one's bleeding, it's okay. But like when it's your first kid, everything's just really big deal. And I'll never forget. I was in charge of one of his first baths. I'm trying to help, right? And we had like this thing for the kitchen sink. It was like a green tub that locks into the kitchen sink to give him a bath. So I got him getting his onesie off, and this kid is screaming bloody murder. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like and I've never been around a crying kid before. And as I'm getting him undressed, it looked like from his neck to his ankles, looks like I dunked him in boiling water. He had like this raised rash, it was like bloody, like lines streaking. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I call over my wife, and my wife, Amy, is actually a nurse. So she's been used to working around very sick kids. And I saw her freak out, which made me freak out even more. So I'm gonna go straight to the pediatrician. And then from pediatrician's like, wow, this is like a really bad reaction to something. Then we headed over to, straight to the dermatologist. Dermatologist on the way to the pharmacy, hours, a whole day of running around town. And a friend of the family called and says, hey, what are you using for laundry detergent? I'm like, guys, I can't talk about laundry right now. Like like my son's really sick. I got to get medicine. He goes, no, but it's because of the laundry soap that he could be having this reaction. I was seriously, like, that's possible? Like, no, like my grandmother's used this stuff forever. Like, it has to be good. No. Like, it leaves these residual chemicals and it can have reactions. Just before, because they prescribed my wife with steroids and prophylactic antibiotics. Not sure if she was passing something to him and antibiotics to a 3-week-old and this and that, the other thing. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we never went to the pharmacy. I went to the supermarket and I grabbed like all this homemade concoction and put all of his clothes in the bathtub, hot water, added, vinegar and borax and baking soda and all these things, and stripped his clothes and washed it. And the next day he was fine. I'm like, wait a second. Like, oh my gosh. So what else is in my laundry room that can make my kid sick? And that led me to start researching. And then I'm, headed, and I'm the back of the boxes, the backs of the bags, and under the kitchen sink, and then the top of the kitchen sink, and then the food, and started looking at food. And oh my gosh, ingredients, and these chemicals are also in food that are in cleaning products. So 18 years ago, we became like full blown eco conspiracy theorist. And, this wasn't popular. We were green way before it was cool to be green. And that was the journey. And years went by, and I was in the restaurant business in New York City. And we moved to Northern Michigan, kind of start over. And I really didn't want to be in the restaurant business anymore. And I met this really amazing grandma that was selling soap at the farmer's market. And it was all plant-based and natural and non-toxic. And I'm like, wow, it's really cool. And she's looking for an investor. I wound up like buying this company, partnering with her, and we, set off. So that was in 2011. And now, Truly Free is one of the largest non-toxic chemical manufacturers in the country. So it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I always love when companies have a personal story like that, because I feel like it really does hit home for a lot of people. And I always say that people don't really get into alternative health for fun. I don't know if you feel this way, but
No,
before
there's a
you
moment. It's either their moment or somebody else around them that they have this aha moment and they find out. Like, you don't know until you find out. How
right.
would you? Yeah, and when people find out how really messed up, food and the chemical industry is, and like you start at the problem is when you find out, then you start asking more questions. It gets and it's very overwhelming at first.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's why it's so
I tell people
important,
to
like
be
the work that
themselves.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, help demystify this very overwhelming experience that people go through when they first learn that under their kitchen sink, in their laundry room, in their cupboard, in their refrigerator, they're under biochemical warfare that they didn't know they were on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like, I always tell people, pace yourself. You don't have to do everything today. You don't have to get rid of everything today. It can be a slow
Hmm.
process. And I think the cleaning stuff was like last on my list with my daughter. She had a pretty significant medical injury that was my aha moment, that like, wow, everything I'm being told is not true. Like, this is smoke and mirrors, a lot of it. And that sent me down this alternative lifestyle 18 years ago. And it's been a slow process for me. And I think the cleaning products were kind of like I'm like, we fix the food first, we fix like a lot of the other stuff, but I just thought cleaning, like, whatever, who cares? It needs to be clean, right? But when my son came along, that was the thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, because his skin was so sensitive. Like if he laid on our bed, using our detergent, which I thought was like, okay, forget it. Like his skin would flare up even worse. And so, he was the baby that made us change everything when it came to inside of our house. So, I met you through my friend Erin, Natural Minded Mama.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah, she's awesome. She lives close to here. Her and I are going to do an in-person podcast where we're trying to arrange it because we live close, and we're like, let's just do it. Let's hire a videographer and just do the whole thing. So trying to get her to come over here and do a long form podcast with me. But she really was so instrumental for me in helping to pull a lot of other things over to being non-toxic. And I don't think the average person really thinks about their cleaning products. They don't really think about their laundry detergent. But since you're kind of the master of all these things, since you have really put in the work here, and I think created some really good high quality things that actually work. I've tried a lot of low tox stuff, and I think that's why I gave up over the years, because I'm like, this is not getting anything clean. This is total garbage.
I can expand upon that if you want me to.
Yeah, I would love that.
As to, why we do what we do, how we do what we do, because we have certainly taken a very unconventional approach. So if we just look at the last 100 years, because literally, like, since the petrochemical industry 100 years ago became what it is today, you have all these byproducts in the petrochemical industry. Everything's we get oil out of the ground and that's what fuels our cars. Like, no, actually, like the gasoline or the diesel for the trucks is like a very small fraction of what's left over. You have, basically the plastics, like, we live in a plastic world.
Yeah.
And there's like one byproduct is the plastic industry. But even still, you have pharmaceuticals, right? You have coatings, paints, chemicals, and then you have thousands upon thousands of chemicals that are derivatives from the petrochemical industry. So if you back up even before that, if you wanted soap, like our ancestors, somebody shot a bear, they got fat, right? Or they harvested a pig or whatever that is, a lamb, a goat, and they rendered that fat down with the ashes from a campfire, which is very caustic. And out of that came soap. It's a process called saponification. But then that's not very, scalable, right? And so, but the chemical industry, petrochemical industry, made access to oils and cleaning agents way more accessible than harvesting fat and rendering and making soap. Well, there was never a question of like, well, is this safe? Like, is it okay to put on people? Like, it works, right? Because mom wants brighter brights and whiter whites. She doesn't care about what's in it. She just cares that her clothes get clean or what, the dishes get clean or et cetera. And so over the last 100 years, what's evolved is that the conventional chemical industry revolves around, this is the modality. And there's three components, right, that people think about, companies think about, we think about, all companies and brands think about in our space. It's like, and the number one priority of the chemical industry is this has to make a lot of money. So it's profits driven. So like these things have to have profits. They have to have margin, number one. Number two, they have to work. Because if they don't work, then that jeopardizes our ability to what? Make profit. And if it's safe enough or kinda enough, then who cares? If it doesn't, but does it make money and does it work? And that's really the three factors. And then you had over the last 20 years, really the green movement that came in. And a lot of it came around sustainability, a lot around packaging, which is awesome, right? And more plant-based agents because you had the food industry having now lots of byproducts. You have the byproducts of the coconut industry, of the palm industry, all these other industries. They now have byproducts. What do we do with these? Well, the petrochemical industry, they got byproducts. Oh, look, they make cleaning agents. Oh, look, we have all this corn production. We have all this sugar production. We have all this palm production, coconut production. We have byproducts. We can make plant-based cleaning agents, which are less harsh, more sustainable, potentially lower toxicity. So then the green industry came in and said, well, here's what we're going to make things really, really safe, right? As safe as we possibly can, as eco-friendly, sustainable as we possibly can, but they have to make a lot of money. So if they have to have margin, because if we don't make a lot of margin, then we're going out of business, right? And then, well, people are willing to pay a lot of money for things that don't work as good because they're really here not about efficacy, they're really here about safety. So the green industry evolved around making a lot of money by selling products that don't work that good, but they're safe.
I'll be honest, this last year, I've definitely noticed some signs of aging as I am 46 in June, and I'm always looking for natural, holistic ways to support my body. I've been a big fan of red light therapy for many years now, and recently started using the Bond Charge face mask to help my body produce its own collagen. Now, here's the thing that differentiates Bond Charge face mask from the rest of the ones on the market. It has specific wavelengths that are actually meant to target the skin and collagen production. It has been shown to reduce fine lines and wrinkles, and it is low EMF. So it's very safe to use. When you're actually going to have a device on your head, you want to make sure it is the lowest EMF possible. I have tested this with my own EMF meter and believe it is safe and recommend it to clients. So if you're interested in checking out the Bond Charge face mask, I have a special discount for podcast listeners. You can go to bondcharge.com and use the code Sarah Kleiner, all one word, for 15% off site-wide. I really love the Bond Charge red light face mask. And if you're looking for more natural ways to support your body in this age and stage of life, I recommend checking it out. Go to bondcharge.com and use the code Sarah Kleiner, all one word, to save 15%. Yeah, because I started shopping at the natural grocery store and I would try to buy the all natural detergents and try to buy the natural soaps. And I'm like, this is just this is garbage. My laundry still smells terrible. My dishes they've got spots all over them. My counters look like garbage. Like I'm just going back to the toxic stuff because maybe it's cleaner, safer, but it's not actually doing anything to get my house clean. And that was a big problem.
So then we came along, right? A little over a decade ago now. And I said, well, there's inherent flaws in both of these methods, right? But you still have to make money because then you don't have a business. You can't help anybody. Right. So here's how we ground ourselves. Number one, the products have to be the safest they possibly can. If it's not safe enough to my kids, I won't put them on yours.
Right.
Number two, they have to work as good or better than the mainstream goo because there's a standard that's been set by these petrochemical companies that if our products don't perform as good or in some cases better than theirs, then we're doing this for nothing anyway. And we've always put margin at the last position. And we've been very fortunate because we have multiple patents and I pioneered and invented refillable cleaning products because it costs the packaging costs a lot of money.
Yep.
And shipping liquid products around the country is very expensive because of the weight. So our ability to put things in refills and in packets and take this bottle in a jug, and now it's a lifetime warranty, we've been able to invest so heavily in the ingredients to make the products work so good because we make up those profit margins on not having to sell and ship garbage that goes out into a landfill. Right. So we've just been on the cutting edge of green chemistry and packaging for, 15 years. And it's been quite a ride. But that's how our guiding principles. And, some people say, well, what about this ingredient? Well, here's what I know. I don't know of another company that gives the level of transparency that we do. If there is, I'd love to see it. But we literally list our formulations. So hoping that our competitors, quote unquote competitors, will steal from us. We want them to steal our formulas. Like, please use these ingredients because so many of the companies, especially in the green industry too, hide behind loopholes. There's lots of ways that you can hide ingredients on a label legally. You could do it legally. It's not illegal, but there's a difference between legal and ethical.
Right.
So
exactly.
So we've just held ourselves to a whole different standard. And I think that's one of the many reasons that's contributed to our growth and our impact around the world. And our mission work is, we tell people, we say what we do and we do what we say.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that they do that with food. I know that they can hide natural flavors in foods, and that can be code for all kinds of things. What does that look like in cleaning products, just so people...
Yeah. So there's this, in the industry it's called the fragrance loophole. So in the industry, if you have an ingredient that has less than 1% concentration in the final product, you technically don't have to list it on the label. You can have 700 ingredients or deviations of those ingredients, and you can list it all under fragrance or parfum and never have to disclose the ingredients on the label. This is the reason why, like, you look at like products that have like colorants, you know,
Yes.
the reason why like mainstream laundry detergent's blue or green is because it leaves an actual UV. There's a chemical. There's the same chemical that's used in inks and dyes to trick your eyes into believing your clothes are brighter under UV light or UV ultraviolet light brighteners. But those brighteners, which are, again, chemical residues. Maybe I'm dating myself, but like when I was young, go to a club, you know, you have like the black lights, the neon, like you like.
I had them in my bedroom when I was in high school.
Okay, right? And the reason why your clothes glowed was not because of the glow. Your clothes don't glow. It's because of the UV brighteners that everybody's putting in their fabric softeners, in their detergents, in their soaps. That's actually what's photoluminescent, that's glowing under black light.
Okay.
So if you wash your clothes like with Truly Free, go under black light, your clothes will not glow because we don't put those things on. But back to the point, the companies that are putting these, because they're in such small, minute amounts, don't have to disclose in the label that they're putting UV brighteners in your clothes. They don't have to tell you.
Pretty standard, right?
If there's a laundry detergent or fabric softener that is blue or green, 1,000,000,000%, they are UV bright. There may be dyes too, but there are brighteners in that product, period. End of story. So this is, and that's why like old school, like our great grandmothers use a product called Blue It, right? Which is, methylene blue.
Oh, interesting.
And methylene blue is like the main ingredient, what used to be called Blue It back in the day. I don't think that product's even made anymore. My grandmother used to use it. And when you soak your clothes in these bluing agents, right, it gives your clothes a natural blue hue. And it's way more natural. I mean, methylene blues, and people take it as a supplement. And you could put it on clothing and it'll lightly tinge your whites blue, like a halogen light coming out of a vehicle. Our optic system sees blue, grades of blue as brightness. Mm-hmm. So that's why these chemicals are blue, right? And like people put dyes in their window cleaner. Here's what if you go and you look at the tens of thousands of ingredients that a company like ours can purchase, and they'll have like these inky numbers, and they're in the GSS system, and you can buy thousands of chemicals. 99.9% of them are white, off-white, yellow, pale yellow. They're not orange, they're not blue, they're not green, they're not purple, they are basically clear to foggy to slightly yellow, right? And dark yellows into the browns. But these chemicals don't have these colors. These are all after effects, and they don't list them on a label. So it's a very, very toxic industry. It needs reform. Yeah. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a politician. I'm actually allergic to politics. I think they're all corrupted on both sides of the aisle. I have no affinity for any of them. And I believe that the way that we create large scale change is not with bureaucrats in Washington. It's by empowering people to vote differently with their dollars. Yeah. And if we do that at any level of scale, we can change industries. And that's what I've dedicated my life to do, is just let's go change industries.
Yeah. What are some of the potential health implications of using these sorts of dyes on your clothes that are leaving this residue? Do you know of any?
We don't know.
Yeah. And
there's I'll tell you what the theories are.
Yeah.
Right. The theories are hormone disruption. There's theories around endocrine disruption. There's theories around like cancers that are on the dermis, some like skin type cancers. There's lots of theories that are out there, but nobody can nail it down because there's no culpability. You see, like there's been studies that came out of Mayo, studies that have been done out of Cleveland, where you take, like you have a healthy son, right? Praise God. When if you just panel, I think they paneled like 400 women at Mayo, and of 400 perfectly born healthy babies, they tested the umbilical cord blood of 400 women, and there was over 200 household chemicals in the umbilical cord blood.
Yep.
Like, so what are the complications? Well, here's the thing. Like our immune system should be like fighting like pollen and like the natural things that are happening, that happen in nature. But our immune systems are combating perfumes, lotions, potions, sunscreens, cosmetics, aromatics, fresheners, the food ingredients, laundry chemicals, whatever laundry product that you go to the store, you buy a blue goo, viscous, goopy, highly sudsy thing. You're wearing those chemicals. They are left on your clothes. When you're perspiring, the cups of perspiration a day when you sweat, you're rehydrating these chemicals, you're creating micro suds, and they're going straight into your body. They're going straight into right into your bloodstream through your skin, the largest organ of our body. So it's not like, and it's like, oh, these things cause that. If there was actual proof, there would be more class action. There would be
Exactly.
more lawsuits than Carter had liver pills. Like it would be an absolute law fest, but it's not, right? But here it's
Right.
just, but we're being bombarded. It's chemical warfare, and like, well, this and this and this, and that's the problem with this game is, between the pharmaceutical industry, the nutraceutical industry, the food industry, the chemical industry,
Funny.
you can take one of these ingredients and test it. Oh, it's
Mhm.
safe. But when you
Yeah.
add, remember, like when we were kids, you go to the at science class, you mix vinegar and baking soda, right? You have
Mhm.
like the volcano. That's how we used to make volcanoes in science
Yep.
class.
Yep.
Well, it's because you have acetic acid and sodium bicarbonate. You have vinegar and sodium bicarbonate, right? Baking soda. You add the two together, and it's like fizzes over. Well, that fizz over, you have a new chemical compound that you've just created. It's sodium acetate.
Yep.
You have a new chemical. And that's the thing. That's a very simple example. When you're wearing cosmetics, lotions, potions, skincare, soaps,
Perfume.
get the makeup off, get the sun protected, wear the laundry detergent, spray the perfume or the cologne. You're now creating hundreds of thousands of chemical compound intersections every day of your life, and you're putting them on your body and you're breathing them in.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, I hear a lot of these mainstream doctors, mainstream doctor influencers now that are kind of looking at people like us and saying that we're overblowing things and that we're making things up and there's no scientific data. And a little bit of these things are fine, but we're not getting just a little bit of these things. Like you just mentioned, we're layering and layering and layering. And a lot of women are now coming to the realization that their breast implants are creating a toxicity issue in the body and a more burden on the body and unable to detox from a lot of things. And that's a whole new thing that I think has just come out really within the last 5, 6 years. And it's like, do we really need to wait for the studies on these things to come out? Do you guys really need to wait for the studies and the lawsuits and all of that before you make these changes? I'm not. You can. I'm not, I'm not going to because Dr. Anthony J, I don't know if you've heard of him. I need to get him back on the podcast, but he has a book called Estrogen, and it's basically talking about about this topic in particular and how we have a problem of estrogen dominance in our society across men, women, and children due to these endocrine disrupting chemicals that are pretty much in our cleaning products, our foods, our drinks, the plastic, we're drinking out of plastic bottles constantly. And this is creating a huge problem in our society, and he says some controversial stuff. I love him though. He's a really smart guy. Mayo Clinic PhD scientific researcher, has published multiple papers, so he's very legit in what he's saying. But he's even talking about, not to offend anyone, the fact that we're having the issue of children wanting to transition to a different gender at such young ages, looking at these chemicals that we're overloading our children with. You can turn a male frog into a female frog if you give them enough of these hormone disrupting chemicals. And so why do we think that we're so much so much different? It's like you said, it's the money. It's the money. And it is, I feel like these doctors and these influencers that are so mainstream are being paid by these companies to say these things, to continue to let people stay in a bubble when it comes to the sorts of things that they're putting on their bodies, how they're caring for their families, because people are busy. Like we're all freaking busy. Like I don't have time to care about this stuff until, like, wait a minute, my kid's got eczema. Wait a minute, like my kid has an autoimmune condition. Like, don't tell me it's connected to all of these things, you know?
So true.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just took a note. I'm definitely gonna look him up. That sounds fascinating. I'll definitely read the book.
Yeah.
And it's just wild, right?
Mhm.
And we're the most. I mean, in America. I mean, obviously, you could be listening to this podcast from anywhere on the planet. America being one of the most advanced nations on the planet. We're also one of the sickest,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
here's what I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business guy, and here's what I know about this business angle. is that there's no money in well people and there's no
Right.
money in dead people.
Right.
But man, that middle, right? I think George Carlin said it, right? Like that middle majority, if you can keep people sick enough long enough, there is so much money to be made on those folks in the middle. It is bizarre.
Yeah.
And and I think that's what we know. What I wake up every day and I still tap dance into work because I just feel like we really have a shot at creating some really large scale change in an industry that just desperately needs it.
Yeah. And I think when people understand this information, and I try to always present things to people with compassion, because I have most of my family still thinks I'm completely insane for what I do. I recommended a castor oil pack to my sister, and it was like I had been recommending witchcraft. The way the way that she received the information, I'm like, really? Okay. So I think I try my best to think of my family and the way that I explain things to them. I don't want to come off as one of those people who are like, they're poisoning you, you're being poisoned, everything's poison. And in that sort of a tone, because that's not going to appeal to people. But if you can really have a conversation with someone and just say, like, let's logically think about this and approach it that
Yeah.
way, I think
Hey,
that's going to make more change.
I've had a chance to meet some really big executives, right?
Mm,
I mean, a short time ago, I had someone approach us about buying the company and acquiring Truly Free. It's a very large acquire, and it could have changed my life, right?
mm,
And I've worked a long time for that moment. And
mm,
I got a term sheet, and I was just getting through the first round of these discussions, and I said, guys, I'm so sorry. I don't want to waste any more of your time. I'm having way too much fun. Like I'm just having the time of my life. I work with the greatest humans in the world. Like, I'm just not interested. But thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, but I'm not interested. Like,
mm.
oh, okay. Like, thank you so much. Like, we really love Truly Free. We think it needs to be on every store shelf, and we could do this, do that. And so just let us know. We can come back for you. And I said, no, I don't think you understand. You're not coming back for me. I'm coming for you. Like when you stop putting toxic chemicals and your portfolio company stop putting toxic chemicals on our kids, I'll
Mhm.
leave you alone.
Yeah.
But until that point, I'm coming to eat your lunch. Respectfully
Yeah.
yours, Stephen. And, that number could have changed my life, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, it probably could have wrecked my life too. And,
Yeah.
and again, I think I said 17 years ago, I was that eco conspiracy theorist. Everyone's trying to kill. They're not. Here's my, I actually believe there's real benevolence here. I
Mm.
don't think that these companies are trying to kill you.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to sell you, right?
Exactly.
They're not trying to
Yeah.
hurt you. They're trying to sell you.
They're trying to make
And
profit.
they're trying
They're
to make
trying
a
to sell.
profit. They're trying to create shareholder value.
Yeah.
They're trying to create jobs. They're trying to just run their
It's a
companies and
business.
provide
It's
for their
business.
families.
Right.
Just like the neighborhood gluten-free organic bake shop that everyone loves to go to, or the local farm-to-table restaurant, or the farmer's market, all these people are just trying to provide for their families. Well,
Mhm.
these companies are trying to do that too. Obviously, at a little level of scale where they serve lots of families, but they're not trying to hurt you. They're just trying to sell you.
Mhm.
And the only way that you're going to change their behaviors is by changing how you buy things.
Yeah.
Because the more you do that, what happens, the industries will change,
Yeah.
right? I've used this
Yep.
example 100 times. That's the reason why organic spinach is the same price or cheaper than its chemically laden, genetically modified cousin. It's not because farmers became philanthropists. It's because enough people said, this is what we want.
Right.
And big agriculture had to figure a way to scale this particular product, or they were going to lose market share to a bunch of granola crunch and hippies. And that's it. So then
Yep.
the market changed and the industries changed and pivoted because enough people said, this is what I want. So the more
Right.
that we do that in every industry, whether it's our clothing, our fabrics, our cleaning products, our food, etc., industries will change.
Yeah. I agree. You might have noticed a lot of viral posts about methylene blue lately on the internet, and there's a lot of fear that you could potentially turn your brain blue and cause toxicity issues. But what those articles aren't telling you is that those doses were 100 times higher or more than the standard dose. Now, I have actually been using methylene blue personally and have several clients that also use it. And when I choose my methylene blue, I choose Transcriptions because it is a physician led company. They actually had 4 physicians that have used their real world clinical experience to develop extremely effective health optimization solutions. It's pharmaceutical grade quality because Transcription sources high quality ingredients globally, subjecting each to rigorous testing to ensure unparalleled purity and potency. It's easy to dose. These buccal troches are actually scored, so you can divide them down into a tiny little dose to try it out. I use it for mitochondrial optimization when I've had a night of poor sleep or if I am flying. If you want to try out the brand that I use and trust, go to troscriptions.com/Sarah K for 10% off of your first order. That's TROSCRIPTIONS.com/Sarah K for 10% off of your first order. I'm glad you didn't sell because I feel like a lot of the companies that people like Ciate is the one that I probably just mispronounced that, but they had the tortillas. And now that they've sold, I mean, good for them as a family company,
They
made
changed their
lots.
lives. They worked.
Yeah.
They worked their lives out and their hearts
They
out. Took a risk, and yeah.
Yeah, but now they've changed the ingredients on some of the products, unfortunately, and not for the better. And so when that sort of thing happens, you have to really look out because then you can run into quality control issues and it's like you still have the name, but little things change, So I'm glad you didn't sell out because that almost makes me trust you guys more to provide quality products and not hide ingredients because I know a lot of companies that do. And I know a lot of speaking of just like, clean detergent, I didn't know that using pods for your dishwasher would still add a bunch of microplastic to your dishwasher and potentially to your dishes. And so,
And to your cup of coffee when you rehydrate them and
oh,
drinking them in, and
right.
and the dish soap, I mean, leaves these chemical films in the rinse aids, and they leave that squeaky clean. Well, that squeaky no spot clean comes with potentially with chemicals,
Right.
and you take a hot acidic beverage like coffee or tea, and you're rehydrating those chemicals and right down the gullet.
Then you're eating it. That's what people don't understand because I thought I was doing the right thing by getting the laundry or the dish detergent that was in a pod and just throwing it in there like, okay, cool. Got my low tox, non-tox pods. We're good. And then I dug in a little bit more. I'm like,
It's the reason why we never did it. It's the reason
oh,
why. And here's the thing: there's so much more margin available to us if I
I'm
went to
sure.
pods.
I'm
We would
sure.
make so much more money. One, because you could charge an inflated price because that's what they go for. Two, the dosages are high. You have a set consumption. So for lots of reasons, we would make as a company make way more money if we had our formulation potted. Way more money.
Oh, I'm sure.
But again, it goes back to it's got to be safe, it's got to work as good, and then we worry about money later. And we've never had profits being part of our modus operandi. It's like, hey, we need enough profit in order to support the hundreds of families that work for us now and continue the mission and free slaves and all the really wild stuff ministry work that we do around the world. But that can't ever be why we're here. Because if that's why we're here and that's our guiding post, then we're going to make some really bad flipping decisions. And that's just pods is one example, right?
Yeah. 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 What are some other examples of different things you guys have done where you could have probably made a lot more money, but you wanted to really create a safer product for people, just so people understand for comparison point when they're looking at these sorts of things?
Like dryer angels, right? Which I think is one of my favorite products we've ever created.
Hmm.
I love that product. I have dryer angels hanging up in my car, my truck, and at the house,
Wow.
like all over the place. And so it's a dryer sheet alternative. It's a shape of an angel. You throw it in the dryer, but it has a refillable in the dress. There's a refillable sachet. It's made with corn cob, and we infuse that corn cob, but it's really all essential oils. Really smells amazing. And the reason why we use that is because in our signature scent in our laundry, we use a blend of nature identical synthetics, plant-based fragrance oils, and essential oils in our because you need those molecules in order to stick through the wash cycle. Essential oils only would just evaporate after the wash
Mhm.
cycle; they wouldn't stick. So in
Right.
order to leave that really great smell of essential oils, we use dryer angels. But here's an example. So that product, I had the idea. We had the idea for dryer angels, and I did what any good businessman in the U.S. would do. I went to Alibaba. I went to China and said, "Hey, can somebody make this product for me?" And I had a company that could make it for me, and they wanted to charge me 72 cents to sew a dryer angel in China. This is 2015, and I was ready to do the deal. And I said, "Hey, can you guys turn on Skype?" Because Skype was a thing then. And I'm like, "Hey, I'd like to see the work conditions. I want to see that you don't like children are not making my product. I want to see the work conditions of the factory where my product will be made." sure, sure, sure. We'll call you right back.
Yeah.
And they never call me back. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like here I was thinking I'm this, world do-gooder and I could be contributing to like,
Child
child labor.
labor. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do now? So one thing led to another through my old business partner. We met this ministry in Jamaica that empowers the deaf. The deaf of Jamaica are, as a society, ostracized. The unemployment rate of Jamaica for the deaf was about 90% back in 2015. And there was these two deaf centers that people would literally drop off deaf children because they're societal like ostracized.
Hmm.
And I said they came to me for a donation at the time when I was building our company. I was on food stamps with my wife for the second time, broke, trying to build a company from zero in a garage, right? Mixing soap in a garage from a concrete mixer from Harbor Freight. We still actually we have a museum here in our factory with the original concrete mixer when we started mixing soap. And they were looking for a donation. I said, I can't even, I don't know how I'm going to feed my family next week. I'm trying to start a company. But I said, do you guys have a sewing machine in Jamaica? They said, yeah, we make our own clothes. I'm like, great. I sketched out this angel and I said, could you make this for us? And I said, I have this company in China that can make it for 72 cents. Can you tell me how much you can make it for? And maybe I can support your ministry through making this product for us. And they came back about a week and a half later, and they said, we did some time studies, la, la, la. We could charge you $2.20 a unit. I'm like, oh my gosh, like guys, I can get this made in China for 72 cents, 22, like $2.20. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
I said, but let me pray about it and I'll call you back tomorrow. And I did. I called them back and I said, guys, I thought about this. I prayed about it and I can't do 220. And they said, okay, what could you do? I said, I'll do $4.50. And they said, 450. I'm like, yeah, 450. And like, I don't understand. I said, here we're going to do. I'm going to teach you guys how to create worth and value for the deaf in your community. And they're going to have real jobs that pay them real money. And now you as a ministry are going to make money. And with those profits, you're going to do everything I tell you to. And what happened was we started a coffee roasting business that came out of CCCD, a trinket business, a leather working shop, a woodworking shop selling to the resorts in Jamaica. And now that entire ministry, which for years was supported on going from church to church, begging with PowerPoint presentations or sending mission groups to Jamaica, now 100% of that ministry is supported sustainably.
Wow.
So again, if I was interested in only making money and driving profits, I would have had that product made in China. Now with our volumes, at probably 25 cents. But we still pay over $4 to these ministries between Jamaica, Southeast Asia. We free women out of trafficking. Many of them have sustainable jobs making that product for us because our modus operandi is we need to leave the world better than we have. And we're confident that if we do that and serve our customers well, which I believe we do, we'll make enough profits for us to go feed our families and keep doing the work. So that's just one. I could keep going, but there's one example of what we do around here.
I love that. And just I'll say from a consumer standpoint, obviously we have switched everything over in our house to the Truly Free products. We love them.
Thank you.
And I have a large community. I have about 80,000 on my newsletter list. And so I send emails and I'll put Truly Free stuff in there every now and then when you're running a deal. And every now and then it's only been two. It's only been two so far, but I'll get an email of, I had XYZ issue with this. I've gotten two emails like that, and I sent them over to my team that works for you, and they reached out personally to those customers to fix those issues. Because I was like, I don't know what's going on, but they had an issue with one with the washing machine, one with the dishwasher, and they were able to just
It's
personally
awesome.
reach out. Yeah, and that means a lot to me because when I've worked really hard to build my reputation so that people know that I'm not going to just talk about stuff that's junk, just to have a million links and codes and discounts. And something like that's really important to me because I have stopped working with companies before because they promise things and then I get customer complaints and then I send those complaints to the company and they don't treat them personally. They say, oh, they need to fill out these forms. And I'm like, no, this is your opportunity to reach out to that customer and to help them. And if you're not willing to do that, then I'm not willing to talk about your product anymore and to use, and that's a quick way to end a relationship with me is to not take care of people that I've recommended your product to. That is end of story, and I'm sure it's, with as much stuff as I send out, sometimes things fall through the cracks, but with Truly Free, I've been super impressed with the level of customer service that you're willing to provide, because I know that you've continued to grow. And it doesn't matter what you do, when you start growing, there will be problems. It's the more money, more problems. That can
The
definitely be a
fact.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, when we don't have any customers, we only have family members.
Yeah.
And we feel like we treat them that we treat our family members like family. And sometimes in families things get a little messy and you make
Right.
mistakes and you
Right.
you forgot the thing that you said you were going to do and it's like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to put it in the box. I'm so sorry. We made a mistake. Let me get it out to you right away." And we're all
Hmm.
just humans trying to do, good things for humans and we've been very blessed to have such an incredible, fan base and family base of great mission driven families. Everybody just wants to live a better life. And that's what's
Yeah.
cool because we get to serve, now hundreds of thousands of families every month that just want to have a better life and better
Yeah.
families and healthier
Yeah.
families. And to know
Yeah.
that we're not solving all of it, right? But we
Right.
just we have one aspect figured out.
Yeah. I always say to people, control what you can control, and you're not going to be able to stop, people from spraying things in the sky at this moment. I'm hoping that eventually that will stop, but you can't stop your neighbors from spraying glyphosate. You can't stop, the things sprayed in our skies. You can't change them from building towers. So what do? I filter my air, I filter my water, and I bring products into my home and foods into my home that are as clean as humanly possible, that I'm going to be using with my children and my family and myself, because we're always going to have some element of toxicity, some elements that we can't control. And so this is one thing that people can do to help lighten that load just a little bit. Because progress, not perfection, consistency over perfection. Those are some things I always try to repeat to my community members, because you can really stress yourself out over this stuff. I mean, like, you really can. But that has its own health implications as well. So
100%.
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
I think, voices like yours and Erin, my wife and I have been great big fans of both of you guys for many years, even before, we started talking to you guys and working with you. And I just feel the world, people vote with their dollars, but they also vote with their attention.
yes,
And the fact that, you guys have been able to inspire and educate and, motivate so many people, it gives me hope, right? The world's we got a shot here. And the more people that give you their attention, which they need to, more people, and you should be sharing Sarah's content like with all of your friends and family. Sometimes a prophet's not always welcome in their own home. So you just blame it on Sarah. It's like, hey, I watched this podcast. Like I read this article. I saw this thing that Sarah said.
yeah,
Like just don't take it up with me. Like you should just go take it up with her. Like, and maybe, Sarah's work will change your family's life. And the more that we do that kind of work in our families, in our communities, in our businesses, our jobs, our churches, the more that we have a shot at actually creating change. Because we
mhm,
really only have we have time and money that we could vote with, right? Where are
yeah,
you investing your time and where are you investing your treasure? That's
mhm,
when it distills down to that's what you got to invest. And the more that you invest with great thought leaders like Aaron, like Sarah, the more that people are going to have to change the way that they vote with their attention.
yeah, yeah. And you may not be able to change your family's mind, like you said, and I get that a lot in my community as well. Like, how do I change my son, my husband?